we have been very much involved in the localization of the MDGs, but I know that the localization of the SDGs is more challenging. It needs more policy coherence, which is actually one of the main themes of this conference. And that's why what I'm really looking for is what did we learn from the MDG experience, and how can we upscale? How can we, how do we, in effect, graduate to a higher level of working together and integration in terms of achieving the SDGs, because it's now more complex, it's now more challenging, and therefore we had a good start with the MDGs. It was simpler then, but now because it's more complex, more challenging, then we need a better set of tools and approaches. And I hope that's what this workshop will really come out with. I mean, with the vast experience, I really appreciate that we have the participants are very rich in terms of the perspectives and the insights that they put on the table in the discussion, and it is something that is needed now that we're already 1 year into the SDGs, and after internalizing what the SDGs mean, it's really now into really operationalizing it, especially at the country level. And our experience in the MDGs should inform our work in the SDGs now. The MDG before was not digestible. And that's why we laymanized MDGs. My development goals, and we even localized it, saying, mukha ng dukha, gaganda. So we translated it to layman's term. SDGs, of course, conceptually, it's very big. But people know what is hunger. People know what is resilience or inclusivity in their own terms. So it's the SDG targets, when you try to frame it in UN language, of course, becomes up there. But people relate to specific realities that are actually MDG targets. So I think it's a matter of communicating it in their language. The way it is written, as the UN Declaration, no. But I think that's a communication challenge. How do you make it exciting for people? How can one person relate to one goal? What we did in MSG is we translated the statements into family statements. When you say eradicate extreme poverty and hunger, to a family it means my family will eat 3 times a day. And I think that's a kind of divide that communication will have to bridge. First, we have to identify who we'd like to talk to. For millennials, of course, we use social media. But if you talk about families in the slums who talk a different language, that has to be translated into their language. And I think that's why we cannot have just one common language for all kind of communication. It has to be targeted to specific. And there's a lot of discussion about reaching the farthest. Then we have to know in what language, what worldview does that farthest think and speak. At the moment, I think it is too integrated, too huge. It looks so mammoth-like that even government will find it intimidating. Even me personally, when I look at it, it covers everything. How do you make it digestible? How do you make it actionable? And for me, the challenge really is if I'm one person or one organization trying to contribute to the SDG, which is within my sphere of action and influence that will be catalytic. I don't have to address everything, but I think it would really help me to know that even if I act on one, I impact the others. But the way it is communicated now, SDG is this whole 17 goals, and it becomes, yeah, it's not bite size, and I think making it bite size will bring people in terms of their individual contributions to that goal, to the set of goals. Nobody else is in a better position than UNDP. I can't think of any other institution that will have to do the job, and the job has to be done. And therefore, UNDP has to equip itself, has to be ready. And I think it is experienced enough, it is ready enough to take on that role, but it is not an easy role. And I think the convening power of UNDP in terms of all the UN agencies, in terms of all the other partners, that will have to be harnessed.